Good afternoon. Welcome. My name is Lynn Hopkins. It is my great honor to serve this congregation as its interim minister. As we gather here on this occasion of grief and celebration, I'd like to invite you into this hour with a chalice lighting, as is our tradition in Unitarian Universalist worship. We light our flaming chalice, a symbol of mystery and power. We light this chalice, which transforms wax into pure light and warmth, to remind us of our own living, transforming the stuff of the world into the love and activity of our daily lives. And as we remember Anne, may today bring forth transformation in ourselves, from grief, healing, from memory, wholeness, and from celebration, love. Please, if you did not sign the book as you came in, if you would do that as a blessing to the family on your way out. And if you did not get an order of service and would like one, you just raise your hand and we'll see that we get some brought to you. We have a practice in our congregation which is done by many Unitarian Universalist congregations around the world of marking joys and sorrows in our daily life by taking a stone and releasing it into cleansing waters of our gathered community. If that feels meaningful to you, I invite you to come down and do that at any time during or after the service. I did not know Anne, and to me it is one of the great desecrations of daily life that a worship leader would stand up and pretend to know things about someone, especially to impersonate a friendship. We have family members and longtime friends who will speak to the personal experience and presence of her. That's not what I'm here for. I am with you this morning to embrace you all, known to me or unknown, in comfort and assurance as we move through this hour of memory and beyond. Please join us afterwards in the room at the end of the courtyard, the Mississippi River Room, for reception, fellowship, and further sharing of memories. And I'd like to invite Stephen now to come up and share a poem.
so many friends and people who knew Anne. I want to read a poem called Fond Memories. We can't know why the lily has so brief a time to bloom in the warmth of sunlight's kiss upon its face, before it folds its fragrance in and bids the world good night, to rest its beauty in a gentler place. But we can know that nothing that is loved is ever lost, and no one who has ever touched a heart can really pass away. Amen.
As we begin a time of remembrance, I'd like to invite Sue Meyer to come and speak to us. Use the mic. Oh, we can fix that.
That's fine. Anne and I were really good friends. She actually was my first friend I ever had when I moved here. We were both tutoring at St. Louis School, and we kept passing each other, and finally one day stopped and said, "Are you tutoring here?" And so that began a relationship, a professional relationship at first, because we shared a lot of professional ideas and professional insights. She always saw the best in people, I felt. And because she could see the best in the people, that's how she approached her students. And in tutoring, when kids are having trouble, they need somebody who'll look for the best in them. After a while, we began a telephone relationship, and we would share ideas, and before long, it involved lunch. And going to lunch was easy with her because frequently when you're going to lunch with somebody, the first question is, where shall we go? Well, for us, the first question was, which Chinese restaurant will we go to? She was a quiet and somewhat understated as a personality because she was quiet. But if you got to know Anne, she had a great sense of humor. She understood life, and she was full of one-liners when the situation was appropriate. She was interested in a lot of things: nature, reading, and she was involved in our book club, our Unitarian book club, traveling. She went to England to see relatives that she knew were there, but she'd never met. She found that there was an uncle that she'd never met in Australia, and went twice to Australia to get to know that side of the family. She was very interested in crafting. She was always taking some course to learn how to do something new. And I have a basket that I use every day, still from her crafting experience. She was always interested in family and friends and pets, and you'll see that in the pictures up at the top. She was tuned into children in a way that they could sense that she understood them and cared about them, and valued them as individuals. She decided to become Montessori trained, and that was a good choice for her, because in Montessori you work one-on-one with children, and she could really hone in on each child. She did her practicum, her practice teaching, at Le Papillon Montessori, and my son was one of her students. He was a 2 or 3-year-old when she was there, and he always loved Anne. Matter of fact, he was disappointed to find out this was happening today because he had another engagement and he couldn't come. She has always nurtured my own children because she got to know them, of course, because we were friends, and would ask about them even when they were grown and married and had children of their own. She was a valued friendship, and I learned a lot from her, and I enjoyed her, and I'm sorry to see that this has come to an end.
Hi, my name is Lori, and I am proud to say that I'm Anne's sister, for those of you I don't know. And luckily for you, even though I have a lifetime of memories, just as Anne was short and sweet, this will be very short and sweet. Thank you all for being here. Each of you has touched Anne's life. Her legacy lives on in you. When I think of Anne, these are the words that come to mind: grace, dignity, calmness, acceptance, and kindness. Her humor and zest for life served her well through many challenges. She was an amazing athlete. Among her many talents, she excelled in tennis and ping pong. On one of our many sister trips, Anne entered a ping pong tournament. Much to the dismay of the tall, brawny men who were also contestants, she came in second. How could this petite woman be such a powerhouse of strength and skill? She laughed and joked all the time. Anne had a house filled with cats and dogs. She used to pick up her neighbor's dog and take that dog to Audubon Park with her own 3 dogs every single day. Eleanor, the human, was unable to walk her dog. Lucy, the boss of Anne's 3 dogs, would not get back into the truck unless she was first. For many years, Anne was an amazing teacher. She taught her kids chess and started a chess club. When Jenny and I would be out and about with Anne, adults would approach her and say, "Mrs. Thompson, is that you? You were the best teacher I ever had." I was fortunate enough to attend a few social gatherings with some of Anne's friends who were teachers. The war stories were hilarious. They developed a lifelong bond, and some of you are here today. For 18 years, Anne was quite active in Al-Anon. She had several sponsees, and she held various service positions at the local, state, and national level. This served as a spiritual foundation for how Anne lived her life. She had an uncanny ability to stay in the moment and radically embrace what was in front of her. Anne saw her glass as half full. I never once witnessed a pity party. I have never known anyone quite like her. When Anne lived in Memphis, my childhood friend Elaine connected us with Jenny. Jenny adored her and took amazing care of her. She injected humor into every aspect of Anne's life. They laughed all the time. Rico and Jenny took Anne into their home during the peak of COVID. They treated her as their own family. Even Opie the cat was invited into the mix. Vanessa provided care to Anne in a very loving way. Last year, on my birthday, Anne moved to California. We got to spend the last 9 months of her life living in the same city. The staff at the Oars adored her and provided a loving environment. I will be forever indebted to all that showed Anne such amazing support and compassion. She left quite a legacy and will be missed. What a privilege to have her as my sister. I will carry my memories of her for all of my days. Annie Banani, I will always hold you in my heart. Your humor carried you through life with grace and dignity. Thank you for making the world a better place. I miss you and love you always and forever. Your much younger sister, Lori.
Stephen.
Thank you, Lori, and thank you, Sue. I feel like I'm home. I used to come here, and Anne was very much at home here. This, you might say, was a spiritual home to her. I'm going to read from some notes here, if I can find them. Pardon me. Where did I put it? Sorry. Well, thank you all, friends, family, people who knew Anne. I really appreciate your coming, and she would too. Anne left us all of a sudden. We think she died in her sleep. And she had her good nature always. I reviewed some of the pictures in the last couple of days, and I put a bunch of them up there. And I was touched, really touched, by her presence, by her good mood, by experiences that we'd had together. I could see her evolution over time. She just imbued calmness, sweetness, kindness. I was touched. And I'm in shock, too. I usually am with death. It's like all of a sudden. We didn't exactly expect it. But immediately I wanted to have this service for her. And she would like that. The people coming together, remembering her, appreciating her, getting to know each other. Having this makes me feel very, very good. And I really appreciate all the help that I've gotten from Lynn, from Debbie, from my sister Lori, from my wife Judy, from my daughter Leah, from Sue. And I was blessed to have her as a sister. I think when we were growing up, we were 2 years apart. She was left-handed and I was right-handed. We were very different. And we cared for each other, but there were little spats once in a while. And over the years, especially since I moved back to Memphis about 30 years ago, we became closer, very much closer, supporting each other. Well, Lori and Sue said a lot about who she was and what she was. I want to tell you a few things and maybe a little story. Here's a story. When I would come to Memphis, I would spend about a week. I'd come about 3 times a year to see her. And one time, when I came to Memphis, I ran into people all over the place. I mean, constantly. And Memphis is very spread out. So I was telling this to Ann. I used to just like to talk to Ann about what was going on with me. And she would respond. So she said, Steve, that's not unusual. You go where they go. And that was one hell of an insight. I'm not sure I'd have that insight. So she shone through. She really did. She loved Elvis. She loved Elvis songs. And right now we're staying in an Airbnb that's Elvis themed. And it's just amazing. So whenever in her independent living they would be singing songs, she would always say, sing something Elvis. I smile when I think of her. I am missing her. It's nice. I just smile when I think of her, of her presence. I am sad. I don't know quite yet how to handle all that. It takes time. Anne considered herself not religious. She would tell you that. She didn't like organized religion, but she considered herself spiritual. And particularly through the Al-Anon process, the 12 steps, she really became conscious of her growth and of her stuff and of her journeys, and she became a more aware person. And Rita's not here. Rita was a good friend of hers. Rita told me that they used to have discussions like this, and Rita said that Anne just grew so much with that journey, and I was glad for Anne. But she did not like religion. She didn't begrudge other people, but she didn't want to have much to do with it. Anne was stubborn, some, and very persistent, which is good. It's interesting. Anne was a worrier. our little family is anxious. We're warriors. But when push came to shove, when she was dealing with something, she dealt with it really well and was calm and stayed with it. It's quite surprising. She anticipated things, but she dealt with them well. She was a simple person, which is really very nice. Well, a couple little stories. When Anne was 12, and there's a picture, no, she went to England on her own. We had been to England when I think I was 6 and Anne was 4. We had grandparents there and an uncle there. And she liked that so much. When she was 12, she arranged to go there on her own and stayed with Aunt Pauline and Uncle Walter, communicated with them over the years. Amazing. She was also part of the Friends of Shelby Farms, and she got me into that. And together with other people, we worked on stopping this disruptive freeway through there. Took many, many, many years, got very involved, and it isn't happening anymore. So I'm real proud of that, and I blame her for getting me involved. Not so bad, not so bad. As kids, I think we were 7 and 9 or 8 and 10, our dad was from Germany, and he loved dachshunds. So we got a dachshund named Heidi, and Heidi had some puppies, and we kept one, female. And then Heidi had some other puppies, and we kept one, female. So we had 3 females. And Ann and I had a little business where we would let each dog have puppies once a year. Our father said no more than once a year, and we could not keep any more. So we sold them. We had a little business, and they had papers. They weren't highfalutin papers, but they were papers. And at that time, we sold them for $40 for females and $50 for males. And Ann and I started our savings accounts at Leader Federal, which is now Regions. And when I had some dire straits and left a job and didn't have another job, and I used a lot of that money. And I'm still quite the saver. Anne was a pretty good little artist. Funny art. And I would go to her to make posters for my environmental gatherings. And it was always unique and had a neat slant to it. Later, she and Dwayne traveled a bunch. And Ann came out to California. I was living in California, as was Lori. She came out there a bunch of times to see us, and that was so nice. Ann loved T-shirts, funny T-shirts. So she would always give T-shirts as gifts and had quite a collection herself about dogs, about just funny, real funny. She also loved the Pink Palace Fair, which was at Audubon Park. And she would shop for the entire year there and get stuff either for people she knew or just because she liked it, and then she had a stash of presents to give. She was famous for this dried bean soup. Who here has had some of that soup? Yeah, she would give it as presents, and they said it was great. I need to find the recipe. She also loved earrings. She loved to give earrings, and she loved to get earrings. So you sort of knew what to get her, either a T-shirt or earrings. I think it was she who came up with the idea of having a latke contest. What this was is the Jewish potato pancakes. And so we had a bunch of people over, and there were 6 contestants, and there were 6 judges. And the judges, it was double blind. The judges couldn't know who made the particular batch, and we were also blindfolded. And we did this for years. It was really fun. And her husband, Dwayne, prided himself in his latkes, and he never won, which was a shame. And one person who won was her nephew, Macy. He used the box. And it was good. Anyway, some of the funny things. Anne had a number of hobbies. Early on, she was anti-fur, meaning people who wore fur coats, and demonstrated. Later on, she was a vegetarian. Of course, she was all about animals. I think she worked with and for a spay and neuter clinic. There's a picture up there with 4 dogs and cats with her in bed. I think she spoiled them. And there's another picture up there of Lucy, a beagle. And Lucy would, if you took your shoes off when you came in, she would take a shoe and hide it. She also, my mother did not like the dog to get up on the couch. So whenever my mother was over there, Lucy would get up on the couch. And you'll see there's a picture up there. She looks sort of naughty. Lucy did. There's lots of other stories. When I first considered getting a chow, which is a dog we saw at a campground, and the woman needed it to go to a home, to somewhere else, I wasn't sure. And Anne knew so much about dogs, so I asked if I could take the chow over to Anne's, and Anne said, "Oh, yes," and I did. And that was probably my favorite dog. I appreciate Anne for that. And so many stories. One time we had a little bitty dog named Missy, and Missy was missing. And Anne lived about 1.5 miles from us. And you know how dogs can find places. Turns out Anne called me up and said, "There's a dog that looks like Missy." See? So there was a lot of joy and a lot of fun experience, and including, when Lori was born, I was 10 and Anne was 8. And what a joy it was to be a new family like that, to have a baby, to have a little girl, it was just wonderful. Well, I could go on and on and on, and my cousin Mark Burnson said, keep it under 30 minutes. Anne did have a wit, like Sue mentioned, or was it Lori? Okay. And our father had a wit. I think I have a wit. Well, I'm 79 now, which blows my mind, and I've come to some realizations that helps me with Anne too, and that is, there's only a span. We don't think of that, but there's only a span. There's a span for pets, 10 give or take. There's a span for us, hopefully 70 give or take. Hopefully give a lot. And I've also realized that, this is a real epiphany for me, we are passing through. We have all these experiences, but we're passing through. It's almost like a play, like a drama. And somehow that's consoling to me. And as we pass through, we are, like Anne was, we're kind, we're helpful, we're sweet. We have problems, we recover. So Anne was quite a lady also. She lived a good life, leaving the world a better place by her actions and her nature. She was known and loved by so many for her kindness and generosity. May Ann's memory be for a blessing. Thank you. Was that under 30 minutes?
If you have a memory or a way that Anne has touched your life, I invite you to come and take just a few minutes to share, if you wish.
And if I may, I invite you to write in the book, the book that's up there, to share.
Yes, and Stephen asked that you please write in the book to share impressions, recollections, and take advantage of the time after service in the Mississippi River Room to share as well. Yes.
Hi, my name is Melissa. Can you hear me? Okay, hi. I'm not really sure what I'm going to say, but I just want to talk a little bit about Anne and what she, obviously meant to me. Oh, sorry. Is it better? Yes. I'm sorry. I don't mean to be difficult. I was sitting there thinking about there was something, thanks you see, by the way. There was something that she said, or that you said about she was kind, and I think some days I think of Anne as more than kind. There was for me, I agree about the presence, that when you're around her energy, it was incredible, because there was a sense of safety and peace. But she was also a little naughty in her jokes sometimes, and we had a great time. We spent so much time at Whole Foods. I'm not even sure what day I met her, when I met her, but she was a part of my life for several years. And I believe, I don't know if the child that Steve was talking about was Junior or not, but I took care of Anne's animals, and for some reason, the reason I found out about this today is I got a weird spam message about an Evite from Judy. This is what it said. It was some weird thing, and I went on there and I said, well, that's odd. And it was some spam thing. It wasn't even real, but it caused me to look things up, and that's how I found out about, the legacy obituary today, or for today. But Anne was a part of my life in terms of me taking care of her animals and as well, and it was such a gift. And the fact that Macy was named Macy, and then she had a nephew named Macy. She thought that was cute. And, I knew, I think the first time I ever met Brookie, I don't know if anybody remembers Anne's dog, Brookie, but Brookie was very skittish. And when storms would come, and I was working, and I didn't know if storm was coming, and I ran over there, and she was already gone, and for 2 days I could not find her. And I was, doing signs or trying, say, Anne, do you have any pictures for signs? I was so distraught, right? And then I see Brookie hiding somewhere at a neighbor's, and she's limping. And Anne says, oh, take her to Doc, okay? So I don't know if anybody knows Carolyn McCutcheon, Doc. And what happened is it was early morning, 7 a.m., that I had to take her to Doc, and it was the first time I ever met Doc. And Doc was already helping all these rescues that morning, and it was great. And so many, and she did great with Brookie, and that was the beginning of a relationship where Ann would get people to go see Doc. You know, like, oh, there's something going on with your animal? Well, you should go see Doc. And Ann always said that Dr. McCutcheon, she wanted her to be her doctor. You know, it's a shame and everything. So, you know, I guess I just wanted to share a little bit about that, but also that, you know, at that time, Ann was my best friend at that time, and I went through a lot of health things that caused me to not stay connected, you know, after that, and I hate that I lost touch, but my heart has always felt, you know, felt her, and I love her very much. I am changed by her. And as I look at Lori and I look at Steve, I see her in you. And I remember, you know, many stories, and there's no doubt in my mind she loved you dearly. And anyway, thank you for letting me come up and share.
Over the last few weeks, talking to Stephen, planning this time together, I feel as though I've come to know something of Anne. And I feel the loss of never having actually met her. And I also am fully aware of how not religious there is an image that is often called to mind for me in times of loss or other great transitions in life. It's an image created by Zen Master Thich Nhat Hanh of blessed memory, in which he describes the ocean waves and imagines a wave maybe not as big or bigger than others, maybe more beautiful or less beautiful, maybe lasting longer or for less time. And he imagines this wave having feelings about that inadequacy, sadness, anxiety. And then he says, but eventually the wave comes down and touches the water and realizes the wave does not emerge from the water or return to it. The wave is water all along, from before its beginning until after its end. Waves are water. And it is how I have come to imagine our lives. When conditions are right, we manifest. And when they are not, we cease. And that is such an insufficient way of facing a time of grief. It works great as a philosophical or intellectual framework, but when you feel that injury of loss, the ideas are not enough. But I do know that it's true. I do know that just as the wave is always the ocean and returns, that nothing is created or destroyed in our lives. I know those things. And it is helpful to me to remember that when someone impacts our lives, in the same way as when we are physically present with something, we leave a little bit of ourselves. It's invisible. But you've watched enough police procedurals to know we leave our DNA everywhere. And the beauty of this is that when Anne touched you, she didn't just make a mark, she left some of herself with you. And so the one that we have lost is carried forward, not just in our memory, not just in our imagining, but in reality. The part of you that was touched holds on to the continuing life, and Anne continues to make a difference through you in this world. And as we say, may her memory be for a blessing. Not just may it be a blessing, okay? Not just, oh, I have fond memories, or I will be blessed by remembering, but may her presence in our lives be for a blessing. May whatever impact she has had in your life empower and encourage you to carry her life forward and bless the world as she would have it be. As we remember, know that it is not merely the past we remember, but also the present that we acknowledge and celebrate, and even, yes, the future, what is yet to come. As we remember Anne, may we be encouraged, enlivened, emboldened to step forward in her name and bring about the future of which she dreamed. May it be so. And so we come to the end of our time together. As we move forward, and please, again, join us right over the end of the courtyard. But as we move forward, May the love that is in this room fill your heart. May the memory that is in this room be for a blessing. And may the courage that is in this room empower you to move forward even as grief comes and subsides, even in the tumult of your daily life, to move forward in faith, in hope, in gratitude, to bring about the world of which she dreamed. Go now in peace.